Only one space remains over in the World Cup qualifiers in Africa, that's right. And today we're going to take a look at the semi-finals of that World Cup qualifier. Who's going to go through? Who, of course, will go home right here, right now. We're going to take a look at it, all of it, next. That's right, folks, back once again with another video. Today we take a look at the playoffs, that's right, for the African nations for the World Cup in 2026. 4 nations remain, only 2 can go through to a final, of course. Who, of course, will make it through. We'll get into all of that and more in a second. If you know where you've been, smash your subscribe, your one-stop shop for Blackburn Rovers, Africa football, whoa, football, we're going to all here under one Rooski. That's right, we're going to take a look back, first and foremost, at how we got to the stage, and, of course, look forward to the semi-finals, which, of course, will result in 2 winners to go through to the next phase. And we'll get into all of that and more in a second. Big shout out to members, big shout out to patrons, big shout out to you. So subscribe, get involved, and let's get into it. All right, folks, so let's get into this then, shall we, as we look back before we look forward over in the World Cup qualifiers over in Africa. What do I mean by that? Well, we already know, of course, some of the nations that have qualified. In fact, it's pretty much cut and dry for the vast, like 95% of the nations. Egypt have qualified. They secured their spot in Group A with an unbeaten run there. 26 points. Burkina Faso has been, are they one of these 4? Well, we'll have a look at that in a minute. We'll see who, of course, qualified in those playoff spots in just a second. Senegal are also there, of course, powerhouse of African football, just like Egypt. They're going to do themselves no harm in the World Cup next year, as will Bafana. Cannot believe it, they're back. Happy to see South Africa there. Of course, we've got South African Rover on the channel, so of course exciting to see South Africa back. Nigeria are definitely one of those nations still trying to get there, and again, it's a mountain for them to climb, but we're going to try and see how they can do it in a second. Let's get into the next ones here. Group D, Cape Verde, of course, secured their first ever World Cup. Happy for that nation. Cameroon, again, I do believe they're also one of the nations that have made it in there. Of course, we say goodbye to Libya, Angola, Mauritius, and Eswatini. Morocco, again, they were perfect, and again, looked like a real force coming into this World Cup. We're in the bronze medal match last time around. Of course, we say goodbye to Nigeria, Tanzania, Zambia, and Congo. Ivory Coast are also there. Powerhouse indeed. Didn't lose a match. Gabon, I do believe they could be the 4th. Of course, they were very close to upsetting the apple cart there, of course, and ousting Ivory Coast for the winning spot. Gambia, my boys. Kenya, unfortunately, one of these days you're going to make it. We'll see that golden generation soon. Respect to my Kenyan brothers out there. Meanwhile, Algeria, again, they qualified quite early on here. Just a 1 defeat, 6 points clear, actually 7 points clear over Uganda. I would love to see as well to qualify, but unfortunately, no. And of course, Mozambique, Guinea, Botswana, Somalia. Again, I'll get to this in a second, but more big factor coming in. Tunisia, again, also qualified in Group H, just the one blip in their resume. It was a draw, but of course near perfect record, running streets ahead of Namibia in second place, Liberia, Equatorial Guinea, Malawi, South Town, Principale, no way in sight. Ghana, they're there again. Of course, they've been pretty shitty of late, but they're still here at the World Cup. Excited to have them back as well. Madagascar missing out. Mali, Comoros, Central African Republic, and Chad. And this is how it all panned out in those runners-up spots. As you can see, we've got 9 nations there, but the top 4 go through. Gabon, DR Congo, Cameroon, and Nigeria. Burkina Faso just missing out, unfortunately, there. So, which is a shame. Of course, don't forget, this is a massive couple of games here for African nations to see if they can actually progress to the Interconfederation playoff. Of course, it doesn't guarantee you if you are the last remaining African nation here. It just means you're going to be the representative for an absolute balmy playoff to get into the World Cup. Meanwhile, I also want to say that I'm going to be back this winter. Fingers crossed, God willing, I'm going to be doing the African Cup of Nations predictions. We're going to do that. We're going to have, of course, maybe some watch-alongs, previews, all that kind of good stuff. So if you are African fan of football, make sure you subscribe, get involved, and we'll see how well your nation does in, of course, a bit of a precursor to the World Cup. Anyway, let's get into it. Of course, we are only looking at these 2 games for the now, and then, of course, we'll come back for that final. That's, of course, we'll see who actually goes through to that playoff. Which I believe is in 2026 and around about March. So sit tight, hold on, and let's get into it. All right, then, kicking us all off, we're going to take a look at Nigeria up against Gabon. That's right. This is, of course, the semi-finals of these playoffs. Of course, there's not two-legged. You got to win this to go through to take on the winner of the next game. Anyway, these 2 nations have only played once since 2004, and it resulted, guess this, in a draw. Goodness gracious me. Nigeria coming into this unbeaten the last 5. They're on 75% form, winning 4 and drawing just the 1. Up against the Gabon side, also on 75% form, identical record, 4 wins and just that 1 draw coming into this. That draw between these two sides was way back in October 2004, long time ago. And coming into this, the Nigerians are on the back of 2 successive wins, beating Lesotho on the road and then beating Benin in Nigeria back in October. So good back-to-back wins for the Nigerians, of course, who turned it around after a bit of a stuttered start in their World Cup qualifying campaign. As for Gabon, they're coming into this on the back of a win over Burundi and a big 7-goal thriller against Gambia way back in October the 10th, of course. So, yeah, looking good. 3 clean sheets and 4 clean sheets. The last 5 for Gabon. The game that doesn't have the clean sheet, it was that 7-goal thriller against Gambia. Now, the bookies, there is no bookies on this one. It's all about gut instinct, of course. I'm going to look at this. I do look at pedigree. I do look at who can handle the pressure the most. Gabon, if they were to get through to this, you know, it's unbridled territory for them. As for Nigeria, you know, I think the nation, it's a lot. I mean, you can look at it a different way. Pedigree is one thing, and if in that regard, you would say Nigeria have definitely the upper hand. However, you talk about pressure. The pressure on the shoulders for the Super Eagles to make it not only through this game, but of course, to be the African representative and to go through to the World Cup is huge, of course. So the Nigerians need to win this game because they're expected to win this game. I have them coming through this one in the end. I've gone with a 2-0 win, which of course will see them progress to the final, where they'll take on the winner of this game. And this one's completely up for grabs. I have no clue about this one. Of course, Cameroon, again, got the pedigree. DR Congo, the underdog, perhaps. Coming into this, though, Cameroon sitting with just the 1 defeat in the last 6, 67% form for them. Up against the DR Congo, also 67% form, but they've got 2 defeats in the last 6. They've won more than Cameroon in the last 6 matches. Now, they have played familiar territory, these two sides, 10 times in 2006. We have 7 wins for Cameroon, nothing for DR Congo. There's been 3 draws between the two sides. In fact, over the course of those 10 matches, Cameroon have got the highest win was a 2-0 win, scoring 15 goals in 10 games, 1.50 goals a game on average. Despite DR Congo not winning, they have scored 4 goals in those 10 games against Cameroon, picking up a 0.40 goals a game on average. Now, the last time they played, it was in the quarterfinals of the African Nations knockout stages way back in Jan 2021, resulting in a 2-1 win for Cameroon. And like I said, Cameroon, 3 wins on the bounce against DR Congo. They're coming into this, though, Cameroon on a bit of a blip themselves, and they did draw with Angola. They haven't conceded a goal, though, in the last 4. Tell a lie. They've actually conceded 1 goal in the last 4 matches. That was against Cape Verde in that massive game, which, of course, saw Cape Verde take full advantage. Meanwhile, DR Congo on the back of back-to-back clean sheets themselves, picking up a draw against Togo, and then, of course, a 1-0 win over Sudan. So back-to-back wins, back-to-back clean sheets. The recent defeat for Senegal, for DR Congo, was against Senegal. Got no bookies here. All about gut instinct right here, right now. And again, pedigree is massive. DR Congo could cause an upset. And again, we will be back for the final. Of course, we'll take a you know, massive game. We might even have to do a watch along for one of these because they are absolutely huge. I think I'm gonna have to do it. A bit of a cop out here. I'm gonna go. Yeah, it's difficult. It is difficult to say. I'm gonna go for a bit of an upset here. I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw final score, penalty shootout victory for the DR Congo to upset the apple cart, send heartbreak to Cameroon, of course, who have been forever faces of Africa in the World Cup, and to set DR Congo up with a potential monster game against Nigeria. Again, it's a long way for any of these nations to get to the World Cup, but of course, in my eyes, it'll be a Nigeria DR Congo shootout for, of course, that one and only spot for African nations in that World Cup intercontinental playoff spot for the World Cup. Anyway, make sure you come back in December. We've got the AFCON. Of course, don't forget to come back for this important final as well. Non-stop coverage really on the draw for the World Cup as well, coming in on the channel as well. So make sure you come back for that. If you're new, where have you been? Subscribe. We'll be back very soon. Until then, we're done.